Hi there, welcome to Wyckoff Technical Analysis session for the Tron. So last week we asked the question, has Tron peaked? And this week the candle has shown us it seems that the short-term peak has already appeared, and now Tron is coming down to test some key levels. Let's look at the charts and find out what levels it is going to test and what's the importance of those levels. So here we're looking at the weekly chart, and this week's deep candle may be a little bit worrying for the bulls. I just want to mention the volume isn't that high, so maybe it's not to the level of people having to panic, but more importantly is what happened 4 weeks back, the last week of July. This long wick at the top is something that worries me, plus the high volume. It seems to me some big players has offloaded quite a bit of their stock in hand. So that's how I interpret this inverted pin plus a high volume. So coming to here, while the FOMO continues, this may be an early sign that the tide is retreating, and the key levels that it's going to test first is this 0.320 purple key level. That's where the buying climax was back in December last year. The second key level is going to be this 0.285 blue level, where the AR2, the automatic reaction of the upthrust, would likely end. So there's one intermediate level somewhere here, that's the upward trend box or channel box. So it's lying somewhere between the two key levels that I mentioned. So it really depends on how quickly the fall comes, then the AR2 would be decided at which level. As of now, it can be somewhere between this bottom edge of the channel box and this blue key level over here, 0.285. So I'll place the tag over here and see when this eventually reveals, because this is a weekly time frame, it's probably going to take 2-3 weeks time earliest for this to happen. But the thing is, expect some bounce from the purple and more bounce from the blue before, the channel box, before it comes to test this blue key level of 0.285. So I would not be surprised if I see 2 bounces or more before it reaches or testing the support level. This is where these bunch of candles got rejected before the climb. That was about 7 weeks time before the 8th week eventually broke out from this level. So this would be a very difficult level to either break down or break up. So that's the big picture. Now get to the daily. Daily, we're seeing there's no Bollinger Band counter squeeze as of this moment, but the squeeze happened before, during late April, started as early as late April all the way into end of June. Basically, it has pushed the price to where we are now. So while there's no squeeze as of this moment, a lot of times after a squeeze, when the price returns, it's very natural for it to come down to a point at least close to the center line of the channels. So the center line of the channels are right now at around 0.3. So there's still, or even 0.29. So there is still like around 15-16% from the current, well, if it's a drop, it's around 12% from the current price point to that level. So that's the weekly. Daily, a squeeze, I would consider it's close to, or I would consider it kind of happening now, even though the top line on getting in the same direction to the downside, but obviously the bottom edge has already, like the purple has gone into the orange, so I would consider a squeeze is already starting. So when the energy eventually release, it may be the time where we see the sign of weakness. So I have adjusted a bit of this text because the text earlier was just too busy. So I've introduced the terms of PSY2, AR2, as well as 3, just to correspond to the upthrust and upthrust of the distribution, much like what they correspond to the buying climax. So we have seen the upthrust of the distribution according to this definition, and now the price has come down for an AR3, an automatic reaction, and this may be the LPSY for the upthrust of the distribution. So there was a peak right over there. It's not clear with candlesticks, let's use lines. So that's this little peak I was talking about. So if it continues this trend, this may be the second LPSY that we are seeing, this rebound from the orange key level, not key level, intermediate level, 0.33, because that's where the PSY2 top was, and also back in 2024, end of 2024, there was a little bit of exchange between candles over there that overlap. That's why it provides a little bit of support here, but this one is not a key level, so the support probably won't be that strong. Just that I want to check one quick thing, because for these upward channel blocks, there is a center line where a lot of the earlier activities got find support or resistance. So that's why I'm trying to find out, are we around that level? And for no surprise, it is. So why I'm putting this line over here? Just to explain quickly. You see this sailing climax point over here, this sign of strength over here, plus these rejections and supports. These rejections, buying climax rejection, and a bunch of others. So many reference points that lead me to draw this line over here. And now, for this, we are finding, or the price of Tron is finding a bit of support around this center line, but it's not, while it can serve as a support or resistance, a lot of times it's not the sole determining factor, because we have all these Wyckoff stages that are going on as well. So if it really is coming down for the weekly time frame to show us an automatic reaction after the upthrust, unavoidably the daily has to come down, even though there's a support line in the daily. So here, if the weekly determines to stay above this center line, obviously it will be good news for the bulls, because it means it will come to retest the ceiling of this channel. So depending on how many days this rebound lasts, it may be somewhere close to 40 cents. But if it doesn't, if the weekly decide to come down to test the 0.32 and show us a sign of weakness in the daily time frame, it seems to be the more likely scenario as of this moment, if this upthrust of the distribution is tagged correctly. So the tendency of these actions is to go through or bounce between the two edges of the channels. So the ceiling and the bottom of these channel boxes. Sometimes they take longer while staying at the lower half or upper half, but a lot of times they're just bouncing between the two boundaries. So it is what we're seeing now. So expect downside to be of a higher possibility as of this moment, even if you're hoping for a rebound or an upwards of the distribution for the weekly time frame. So I would say maybe 70% chance heading towards this purple key level, 30% chance that it bounces off from this center line. So that's for Tron for now. People may be drawing money to other altcoins that are at a later, that moved later, let's put it this way, before returning to Tron. That could be one scenario as well. So, finger crossed, don't get too wild, always remember your stop loss. Thanks for joining me, see you in the next